Why should you work with a podcast booking agency? There's any number of reasons why you should work with one. To premise it, I started PodcastingYou back in 2017. And since then, I've seen the podcasting industry explode over the last 7 years. I've built my business on helping people get on podcasts. I've helped countless podcast hosts get guests for their podcast and pretty much everything in between. I find the number one reason that someone works with a podcast booking agency is because they don't have the time to go out there and to find the podcast for themselves to be a guest on. They don't have the time to write a pitch and reach out to all the hosts. They don't know what should be included on a one sheet. So those are really the main reasons that someone should hire a podcast booking agency, because we know what shows make sense for you. We know how to create a professional pitch and how to put together a professional one sheet. And our team is trained in securing your podcast interview bookings for you. So I find that if anyone wants to go out there and be a guest on a podcast, instead of you going out there and trying to figure out all this information on your own, we already have all this information pre-built where you get to take advantage of our team and our knowledge that we've built up over the last 7 years. And the benefits to you are you get to build brand awareness, you get to become an authority in your niche. Obviously, you get the added benefit of driving leads, potentially generating more sales, more clients. Another little aspect that I like is SEO. And what I mean by that is most of the times when you go on a podcast interview, you're going to have and receive what's called a backlink to your episode or back to your website. A lot of the times podcast hosts have a show notes section on their website. What that means that they're going to be linking back to you and your website. The more backlinks you have, the better Google's going to look at your website. The better Google looks at your website, the higher you rank. The higher up on the page you're going to be, the higher up you are on Google, the more people click on your site. So in a nutshell, that's sort of how that process works. You get that added benefit. There's really endless possibilities that you can receive from podcasts. I myself go and guest on podcasts, and I find that I make great connections with the podcast host. I primarily in the real estate niche. So sometimes I'll talk to people, I'll put them on my sponsor list that I want to invest with. Sometimes they'll become clients of mine and they need my help to either A, get them booked on podcasts. Sometimes they might need help getting a guest for their show. There's that aspect of it as well. Sometimes they need help editing. And I never would have expected that if I didn't have that conversation. Because you can think about it, you're spending 30, 60 minutes on a podcast interview with someone. Because of these 30, 60 minutes, you're really going to get to build a really good quality relationship with that individual. And you never know where that relationship might take you. But really, that's why you should work with a podcast booking agency. If you're looking to grow your reach, if you're looking to get out there more, if you're someone who's just starting off and it's your very first time going out there being a guest on podcasts, it probably wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for you to work with an agency like ours and the other ones that are out there. It would make more sense to go out there and try to do it on your own, understand the skills, maybe practice on some smaller podcasts out there, the newer podcasts that are out there, and then work with a company like ours once you do have that budget to go out there. Because I really recommend anyone to go on 10 to 20 podcast interviews and then really see how it worked out for you. And then depending on how it worked out for you, whether you want to keep going, whether you want to take a break, totally up to you. But you don't want to just go on 4 podcasts and then call it a day. You want to make sure that you're being very consistent with it. But that's exactly why you should work with a podcast booking agency.